Welcome to this explainer. Have you ever looked up at a massive towering skyscraper and just wondered how the builders knew exactly where every single steel beam was supposed to go? I mean, they obviously didn't just start stacking bricks and hoping for the best, right? They used a master blueprint. Well, today, we are going to learn how to decode informational text just like those expert architects. Because here's the secret. Every well-written article, essay, or textbook chapter has a hidden structural blueprint. And once you learn to see it, reading literally goes from being a frustrating chore to an absolute breeze. So let's get started.
Here is our agenda for today. First, we'll look at the master blueprint, then 5 structural patterns, followed by spotting the clues. After that, we'll test your knowledge, and finally, wrap things up with the godly learner.
All right, Section 1, the master blueprint, building with purpose.
Now, before we look at specific text structures, we really have to understand the foundation. Why do authors even use organization in the first place? To anchor this whole idea, let's look at a principle from Scripture. Let all things be done decently and in order. You know, this perfectly captures the essence of informational text. Order is just vastly superior to chaos. Think about it. Just like you would never try to build a house without a blueprint, an author doesn't build a strong argument without structure. When things are done in order, they actually hold up under pressure.
So what does this all mean for you as a student? Well, this concept is actually a core Texas academic standard, TEKS 110.24 to be exact. When you know the structure of a text, you basically unlock 3 major superpowers. First, you can predict what's coming next. Second, you can summarize texts with total ease because you already have the framework in your head. And third, you remember the information much, much longer. Recognizing these patterns ensures the information actually sticks in your brain, rather than just going in one ear and out the other.
Moving right along to Section 2, 5 structural patterns, the floor plans.
Okay, so just like houses come in a bunch of different styles, ranches, colonials, or those cool modern lofts, informational texts come in a few standard structural floor plans. The 5 most common are chronological order, cause and effect, compare and contrast, problem and solution, and description. Today, we're going to zoom in and examine a few of these right in action.
First up is cause and effect. I like to think of this one as the foundational why and what of an argument. This pattern explains exactly why something happened, that's the cause, and what happened as a direct result of it, the effect. It's essentially the ultimate chain reaction. Let's look at how this chain reaction works in the real world. Imagine you're reading an article on a drought, and it says, because rainfall dropped by 40%, crops failed across the region. The author explicitly shows both parts here. The cause is that lack of rain, and the direct effect is the crop failure. If you recognize this specific pattern while reading, your brain instantly connects those two events.
Let's add to our toolkit with next pattern, compare and contrast. This blueprint takes 2 totally different concepts, ideas, or items and literally weighs them against each other. It highlights exactly how they are alike and exactly how they are different.
Think about a tech article that says, unlike desktops, laptops are portable but have shorter battery life. The author is directly contrasting the stationary, plugged-in nature of heavy desktop computers with the portable, yet battery-limited, nature of laptops. By recognizing this blueprint, you instantly know the author's goal isn't just to describe a bunch of computers to you, it's to help you weigh your options. Next, we have problem and solution. This is a highly common blueprint, especially if you're reading community newsletters, persuasive essays, or even scientific articles. The author plainly states a specific problem that exists and then proposes one or more logical solutions to actually fix it.
Here is that blueprint in practice. The playground was unsafe, so volunteers rebuilt it with safer equipment. The unsafe playground is the glaring problem. The community coming together to rebuild it, that serves as the direct solution. Once you spot a problem in a text, your mind should automatically start scanning ahead, looking for the blueprint's natural next step, which is always the solution.
Section 3, spotting the clues, reading the blueprint.
So we know the floor plans, but how do you actually quickly recognize them while you're reading? Well, you look for the hinges and nails holding the text together. And by that, I mean transition words. If you see because or therefore, you are almost certainly looking at cause and effect. What about compare and contrast? You're going to see clues like however or unlike. And for chronological order, the author is going to use time-based clues like first, next, and finally. Spotting these words is literally like turning on a black light. The hidden structure just glows right there on the page.
Section 4, test your knowledge, the inspection. All right, it is time for an inspection. Let's test your new architectural reading skills with a rapid-fire review based on our homework questions. Question 1. Think about a textbook chapter covering the history of major weather events over the last century. Which organizational pattern would a weather history use, and why? Have you got your answer? It would use chronological order because it tracks a series of events sequentially over time. Question 2. Try to recall the transition clues we just discussed a minute ago. What are some words that clearly signal a cause and effect pattern? If you remembered words like because, therefore, or as a result, you hit the nail right on the head. These are dead giveaways that an author is linking an event to its direct consequences. Question 3. Now this goes right back to the beginning of our explainer. How does recognizing the text pattern actually help your reading comprehension? Knowing the pattern helps you predict what's going to happen next. It makes it incredibly easy to summarize the text, and it ensures you remember that critical information much longer. Basically, it brings order to the chaos. Section 5. The Godly Learner, the Ultimate Blueprint. As we wrap up, I want to sort of zoom out from the mechanics of reading texts and look at the ultimate blueprint for your life, which brings us to the Heroesmart Academy Godly Learner philosophy. Building a brilliantly smart brain is pointless if you just use it to make choices that tear your life down. Step 1. Education without morality hurts. Step 2. Being smart simply isn't enough if you continue to make destructive choices. Step 3. Biblical morality provides the necessary anchor. It ensures that the knowledge you gain is actually used to build a life of integrity and purpose. Now, this philosophy is rooted deeply in Romans 8:6-7, which promises peace of mind to everyone who remains spiritually minded. Just as an orderly approach to reading brings clarity and removes confusion, keeping an orderly, spiritually anchored approach to your daily choices brings immense peace to your educational journey, and to your life as a whole. It's a proven, reliable blueprint. Which brings us to our final thought. You now know how to spot the structural blueprint to master absolutely any informational text. And you've been given the ultimate blueprint for a moral, peaceful, and purposeful life. The tools are sitting right there in your hands. So the only question left to answer is, what kind of house are you going to build with your education?